Oh, there's going to be a lot of mean things said today. Yes, indeed. Welcome into Total Hockey Now here on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel. That over there is at Fuzzy Chris 91. I am at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. Anthony at Ant Rivera 86. A late scratch from the lineup today. He's going to be at the Devils game tomorrow night. So if you're there at the Prudential Center, checking out game 3 of Devils Hurricanes, maybe you'll see him around the building. But we'll miss him here today. We'll be a defensive pairing instead of a line. And there's a lot to get to here today. Before we get into the Stanley Cup playoffs here, Chris, anything you would like to talk about hockey related that's not what we're about to bring up before we go down this path here? Or are we ready to go playoffs and one New York team getting it right and one New York team getting it wrong?
Listen, I'm nothing better than watching the Islanders and Rangers fall apart. I'm not crying for any one of those fan bases, specifically not the Rangers fan base. Let's not get it twisted. I'm not crying for you guys. The Islanders, have been mediocre for, what feels like forever now. So, no, we'll touch on how terrible Edmonton has been. We'll make fun of the Senators a bit later. There's lots of anger to go around today. We can bash some of these teams collectively. We have lots of time.
There's plenty of time to go around. And, yeah, we're going to go through 4 games tonight in those series, and then you got 3 tomorrow, and the Stars and Avalanche, they get a 2-day break. They don't go till Saturday. So that's their 2-day built-in break. So we'll talk, frankly, about those teams probably need it after all the close hockey. You see the email address on the bottom, totalhockeynow@gmail.com. But without further ado here, let's just get right into the show. Let's talk a little. First, let's talk about, the team that got it right, and that's the New York Islanders. That they got rid of Lou Lamoriello. After 7 years, they get rid of him. 82 years old. I doubt he's going to be on a GM and another team. Maybe he's take some sort of senior advisory behind the scenes kind of role, because he just strikes me as a guy that needs to wake up and have something hockey related to do. I can't see him just all of a sudden saying, "Hey, I'm going to go play 36 holes a day on the golf course 4 days a week." That doesn't strike me as the kind of guy he is. But the New York Islanders at least turning a page here, and maybe not even turning a page. Maybe they're just starting a whole new book. But Lamoriello had to go. They made the move. Now we'll see who their next GM hire is. But it is there's a lot to be cleaned up on Long Island.
Excited to see what recycled GM they will find to just thrust into that role again. Look, the Islanders had no choice to do something. This team is so mediocre. They're actually Bridgeport, their AHL affiliate, lost 50 games this year. So when you're a bad hockey team and you can't develop players, that's probably not good. So I'm glad that they tossed him. I'm just glad to see Islander players with a beard. This should have been the year Anthony Duclair signed with him. He could have kept all his hair and been a lot happier. But I'm excited to also see what happens to Patrick Waugh. I think that was an interesting hire for them at the time. Hasn't necessarily performed. This team was bad on the penalty kill, bad on the power play. Can't generate much offense. We'll also see if that maybe triggers I don't even know if you want to call it a rebuild at this point, because you would have to be good in order, and then have a decline and then rebuild from that. The Islanders have just been bad. So there's some pieces there that would interest a lot of teams, right? Matthew Barzal, Noah Dobson, just name a few. So I'm excited to see what goes on that side of the island.
And, with Patrick Waugh, I think unless you're getting a guy that's going to come in and just from the get-go, okay, we're cleaning house, this is how it's going to go, and we're starting at zero, then yeah, maybe bring a new coach in. But if the goal is to try and maybe sneak a playoff appearance out of this team, try and squeeze whatever you can out of the lemon here, then you maybe keep Waugh around, because, not to say it wasn't his fault, but he also didn't have a ton to work with there on Long Island either. Now, a guy whose job security is firmly in place, at least with a quote-unquote multi-year extension, is Chris Drury, short LIRR train right away into Midtown Manhattan. And I just, I'm not going to go off on the rails and go crazy here. I just don't understand what this guy has done to earn an extension, considering the success of these teams. The argument can be made is riding the coattails out of a guy that's running things up by you in Montreal, Jeff Gorton, right now. And oh, look, Jeff Gorton happens to know about hockey because the Ranger team that had success, in 2014 was him. And a lot of the remnants of after he left that team were still there for their recent, multi-conference 2 and 3 year run. And now look what's happening in Montreal. A little patience and all that. Yes, maybe the series isn't going the way you want, but they are a team for next year that absolutely be a playoff monster, I think, just from the experience they're getting playing a team like the Capitals now. But we'll talk about that series more later. But I don't understand what the Rangers did here. And this is why they only have 4 Stanley Cups in their franchise history, and that they've only have one since 1940. They're inept. This screams, Jim Dolan saying, just trying to give his buddy Chris Drury, an extension. I don't know what this man did to get a multi-year extension. Please, Chris, from an outsider, explain it to me.
Look, if somebody ever tells you in life that, or when you're trying to apply to a job, sometimes you look at the requirements, right? And it's like, you need 10 years experience, you need a doctorate in something, and then you need 17 references and all these things that are nice to have kind of thing. And you're just like, I have none of this. You should still send a resume. Just, you know what I mean?
Right.
Ship it and clip it. Because that's basically what Chris Drury has done. Now, it's especially with how things went this season, you can Laviolette, which is what it is at that point. I'm excited to see who the Rangers recycle behind the bench there. But I mean, it's just the way that the whole franchise seems to be running. It doesn't sound like good vibes over there. The way they treated Jacob Trouba, the way just, the Barclay Goodrow as well deal where they stepped in, San Jose, a lot of the players just, being out of touch about what's going on. It doesn't seem like he is a people person. And I get that the NHL is a business, and I get that, you don't have to be friends with everybody. But I mean, if it sucks coming into work and you don't like the guy who's up there, who's running the show, I don't know how many players. I guess what saves the Rangers is it'll always be New York, so you don't really have a hard time trying to convince people to come play on the Big Apple. But I mean, it's just why? If I'm a free agent, why would I want to go there? And if I have a conversation with other players who have been there, I'm assuming the references are not good for Drury right now. So, why would I want to go there and embark on mediocrity?
So I'll be the first to say that the players needed to maybe, pardon the expression, but man up a little bit, in season, because it is a business. And yeah, sometimes your friend, even when you work a normal job, sometimes your friends leave and take other jobs. It's not just unique to, being on a hockey team or a football team that you spend all this time with at practice and on the road and on the plane. I get it. But friends leave, people, and maybe the way Drury was doing it was not ideal. But here's the thing with Drury: you can get away with operating that way if you win. Winning solves a lot of things. I don't like Bill Belichick was nobody's friend as the Patriots head coach for all those years. Say what you want, cheat this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They still have a lot of Super Bowl rings and a lot of trophies when you walk into Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. All right. Belichick got away with being an asshole for a while because he won a lot. And what happened when he stopped winning? He got let go. So I don't understand what Chris Drury has done to make the Rangers a desirable location in the sense from a salary cap perspective, from a roster perspective, and like you said, the reputation around the league. Yes, fine, there's something special about playing in the Garden, playing for an Original Six franchise and all that. But you know what? And maybe it's a little different in the NBA. There was that same narrative for the Knicks all those years. Remember, I don't know if you remember when LeBron James was first with the Cavaliers and everybody assumed, oh, he's going to New York first chance he gets. Got to go to the Mecca. You got to go to the Garden. You got to play there. No, it was an inept franchise that anybody was like, yeah, no, I don't care about any of that if I were never going to win. And we're going to be 10th in the Eastern Conference at best every year. And it did, not to overreact. Listen, I know they went to the conference finals 2 out of the last 3 years, but they fell off the face of the earth for 2 months. The disconnect between the front office and the players was so bad that for 6 weeks, you could have fielded 6 random players, 5 skaters and a goalie at your job. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you've ever skated or not, and had a chance of beating the Rangers in December and in January. It's just, again, what did he do to merit getting an extension? Besides the fact that maybe Jim Dolan just likes him. And that's the problem sometimes, is Jim Dolan likes these guys, and he can't operate a business because he's a moron.
Let me just clean my tears here for.
No,
for
listen, I
Rangers
get
fans.
it. You don't care. You're not to say you're anti-Ranger, but you're certainly never going to be pro-Ranger. But it's just like, you know what? Enough's enough. Start to realize that maybe you're not the Cleveland Browns or the Detroit Lions, or, pick your franchise that's just been terribly inept. Maybe you get away with it because you're in New York and you play at, the world's most famous arena. And, anytime somebody signs there, it's like, oh, it's the Rangers. There's something special about putting on the sweater. If things don't change soon, that's going to go away. The Devils are already in better shape long-term than the Rangers are. And if the Islanders get this right, with the right GM, and he actually starts doing things in the right way, you might be third on the pecking order in New York hockey if you're not careful.
Again, no sympathy from me here. None.
Right.
Not a listen. If you call me sick for watching this demise, then somebody hook me up to whatever that machine that takes your pulse, because it's dying. Look, I ain't mad. I ain't mad.
No, of course you're not. And you're on the other side of it where you pick up that scrap heat with Jeff Gorton. And now all of a sudden, like, hey, things are finally starting. All those years of patience and losing, they're starting to turn around. It's starting to pay off a little bit. We'll get to that series. It's time to talk playoff hockey. Let's talk about things that are fun to talk about, because I'm not having fun talking about the Rangers. Let's get that up on the screen right there. And you see right there, you see all the series scores. We've got 4 games going tonight here. We'll get through. We'll go through all those 4 series first, and then we'll go from there. First drop in the puck is Tampa Bay and Florida. You see that Florida takes care of business, winning 6-2 the other night. Tonight, 6:30. So they had an 8:30 local puck drop to start the series, and now they got to go at 6:30, which is not all that terrible. I'd actually like that if I was a season ticket holder, 6:30 over 7. But nonetheless, you see the series odds there for both the entire series and the exact scores on the right of the screen there. Were you surprised that Florida came out, basically just establishing the fact that they were the better team in game 1, and there was no doubt about it?
I was a little surprised at how poorly Tampa Bay played in that game. We know that when they're on the road, it's not great for them, but this is a good home team. They've won Stanley Cups before. Not to take anything away from the Panthers, of course. They are the defending Stanley Cup champions, right? But just the way the addition of Matthew Tkachuk really added to it. And that was what, we had talked about this last week. That was, for me, that was whatever was going to, happen in this series. I still think it's a coin toss. There's still lots of time for Tampa Bay to turn this ship around, but it was down to what Matthew Tkachuk could do and what he could bring. And when you score goals and rack up assists and throw weight around, good things will happen. But for me, I guess I expect a little bit more out of Tampa Bay. And I know they're dealing with some injuries now. All teams do, but they didn't look good. They just didn't look good. Vasilevsky didn't look good. And that's not something you see every day. You don't see him being terrible. So I'm excited for this, this game, and I'm excited for how it goes down and everything. But yeah, I'm just excited for it.
To reference the injuries you talked about there, Oliver Bjorkstrand out and Anthony Cirelli day-to-day. So that's 2 of your middle 6 right there. Your second-line center and a guy you basically picked up to fill out that third line and have a formidable third line there. So definitely some lineup shuffling around here. I knew that there was going to, the Panthers, the way they closed the season, we knew they were banged up. They weren't playing with their guys. Marchand's adjusting to the lineup. So you knew you weren't getting them at their best, and you knew there'd be a jump, especially when Tkachuk got back in the lineup. I didn't think there'd be that much of a jump into, against the Lightning in game 1. But yeah, they've also been waiting to, sometimes when you're waiting to unleash the full look, you haven't had Tkachuk and Marchand and all that out there. And boy, they came out strong. I think Tampa recognizes that tonight is must win. You hate to use that term, game 2 of a playoff series, but considering Florida's the defending champs, talked about the Matthew Tkachuk factor both this week and last week on Total Hockey Now, and just the fact that the Panthers are one of the favorites, according to Vegas. Yeah, you're in a must-win in game 2. You can't go back to Sunrise down 0-2, because now you're giving momentum to a team that doesn't need any sort of additional push or anything like that. So I actually like the Tampa Bay Lightning. I like them so much to take to win in regulation tonight. Money line was, getting up there a tiny bit, but plus 120 at home. I don't think it's a bad play here because, again, you said Vasilevsky did not look great in game one. He's not going to play poorly 2 games in a row unless he caught Jake Ottingeritis, who has seemed to be clear of that the last 2 games. But, yeah, I think we're still in for a long series. I still like Tampa to win the series, but I am nowhere near as confident as I was a week ago with that pick.
Very confident in my pick to take the Panthers because it was a coin toss, and I was waiting on Matthew Tkachuk, and so far he delivered.
All right, so looking at the series exact scores there on the right-hand side, what would you I mean, the shortest one is Florida in 6 because they know it's not going to be a sweep, and Tampa will get some victories there. Florida in 5 being the second shortest, and then Tampa in 7 being the third shortest. So what do you like there?
I would still stay Florida in 7. I just think Tampa Bay can right the ship a little bit, right? You have to win this game at home because you're not a good enough team to go on the road and start trying to beat the Panthers in Sunrise. Like, that's just not Tampa Bay's game. They have been much better on home ice, as are a lot of teams. So to be down, 2-0 and then have to go on the road and try to win those games, like, that's a lot here. If you go back to Sunrise, the series tied at 1, it's not the best scenario, but it's most certainly not the worst. So,
and I think as Tampa, you recognize with an opponent like Florida, obviously you want to get both at home, but at least leaving with a split is like, okay, whatever. We know this is going to be a long series, and there's no reason they can't go into Florida and win. So, it's not like, oh, you're playing a team like the Avalanche or the Kings at home where it's like, okay, it's going to be really tough to get that road victory. I mean, we'll see how it goes, but this is still one of the closest series in the first round. For me, it's still Tampa in 7, plus 450 would be what I'm looking at there. The other Eastern Conference game that is going tonight is the Maple Leafs and the Senators. Toronto has a 2-0 series lead there. Going to be another Stolars versus Omark. Didn't get the best performance out of Omark the other night. In game 1, I should say. Game 2, a little bit better there, the 3-2 overtime victory. Shout out to James Hetfield and Metallica taking that one in while Metallica's in town playing Rogers Center, I believe, is the Blue Jays baseball stadium this weekend. So always cool to see one of my favorite musicians there. As you can see, it's getting late early for Ottawa as they already cannot win the series in 4 or 5. Only 2 games for them. They could do it in 6 or 7, 18-1 or plus 900. Toronto there, the shortest one odds is going to be in 5, so they do anticipate Ottawa getting one here. I don't think Toronto is going to sweep this series by any stretch of the imagination, but if Ottawa is going to get one, I think Toronto. I like Toronto to win tonight. I like the under tonight. If I think Ottawa gets one out of desperation on Saturday and then Leafs in 5. That way, I know it's the shortest odds there, but I think that's the way this series is going to go the rest of the way here.
All right. It was key, like I said last week, that the Maple Leafs have to suffocate the Ottawa Senators. Do not give them a chance to believe that they can be in this series. And if I'm the Ottawa Senators, listen, this could not have gone worse. You were in Toronto and it didn't work. You have been firing the puck on goal. They don't have enough skill up front. Ottawa just doesn't have enough skill to compete. And that's fair. I don't think anybody was looking at Ottawa going, oh, this is a team that's going to be able to compete with the Marners, the Matthews, the Tavarses, the Nylanders. Like, that's fine. Everybody knew that. The problem is Toronto's core 4 is actually being good. They are producing. The secondary scoring as well is there for it. But the main concern is Linus Ullmark, because he was brought in here to be the backstop that this team needed. I'm old enough to remember when the win total, the over-under for Linus Ullmark during the regular season was 39.5 wins. So right off the bat, I think there was a little bit inflated. And let's put this delicately. He has been a hot mess. He has been terrible. The only goalie worse than him is Stuart Skinner, and we'll deal with that in a minute. But you can't be that bad and expect good things to happen. The Senators played a very Senators first game. They went out there, they tried to bang everything that walked, right? And Kevin Bieksa brought it up, by the way, as well, on how can I get, Tim Stützle had 9 hits in that game. And you're like, buddy, that's I get wanting to be physical,
That's not what we're paying him to do.
That's not what your game. Finish your checks, fine, but you don't have to be the F1 diving in here trying to get a lick on everybody. You know, take the opportunities that you have. But like, sure, if you want to bang them around, but Ottawa got into penalty trouble, Toronto capitalized on it, right? Yes, I understand the other game went to overtime, but still, it's a game that should have never gone to overtime. Ottawa has been the better team in terms of generating offense. Listen, I know the Leafs are feeling good about themselves right now, but you're going to want to take a long look in the mirror, because if this wasn't for Stolarz being good and Ottawa having an absolutely horrific offense, this script might be a whole lot different. That defense group for the Leafs, not great. It's not great because they're giving up too many scoring chances. It's just Ottawa's not good at putting the puck in the back of the net. And we'll find out a little bit more. But this has been the Leafs. They're also not generating a ton of chances. The puck is going in, which is fine. But the clip that they're scoring at is just way too high. Like, there's going to be some regression here to the mean. And when that starts to hit, like, then it becomes a coin toss. So I understand maybe the Senators are like, hey, it's not as bad yet, and you're never in trouble until you lose a game at home. So Ottawa now has to go home, take care of business. But they got to find a way to make life for Anthony Stolarz a lot more difficult. And Linus Ullmark has to stand up and say, hey, I need to be better than the 16th goalie right now in the playoffs.
15th. I thought we were going to put Skinner as 16th.
Calvin Pickard did play yesterday, so he's the first backup to see a little bit of hockey. So he is Linus Ullmark is ranked.
So now we're
16th.
at a pool of 17.
We're at a pool of 17, correct. The Edmonton Oilers are the first team to use 2 goalies in the playoffs. So congratulations to them. Everything's going perfectly there. So Linus Ullmark is ranked 16 out of 17 in goals saved above expected. He is a problem, and you don't want to be a problem. You want to be a solution. So figure it out, because he hasn't faced a ton of chances. Whether you want to blame him or not, doesn't matter. You need a save. Go out, do your job, stop the puck. Figure it out.
I think Toronto's got a little bit of mojo here. You know, I know they haven't maybe put forward their best foot here, but I think they've got the mojo. I think Stolarz is absolutely that. You know, every year you have one goalie that right before the playoffs, at the beginning of the playoffs, just shows up and just decides he's not going to let anything in. He's got the look of that guy right now. He's not paying for any beers in Toronto that he wants at this point. So again, I thought Ottawa would really push them. You know, I thought Ottawa would get out there and at least get one in Toronto. I don't love the way they looked. You know, Toronto, to me, again, it's going to be a short series. Maybe Ottawa gets it back for a game 6 out of desperation, but I think not getting one of those first 2 in Toronto, especially when you had the chance in overtime, was key. So I think we'll get a gentleman's sweep, as they say, in 5 games here. I think we get Toronto to win tonight, Ottawa to win out of desperation, hockey night in Canada, Saturday night, maybe Ullmark pulls a shutout out, and then, Toronto takes care of business at home on Tuesday and advances to the next round. So not an ideal first-round test for them, and whoever's waiting for them between Florida and Tampa is going to be a big step up in opponent there. So we'll see how
Maple Leaf fans, I get your take, like you're planning the parade, and I get it, but you're going to want to take a long look at yourselves in the mirror, okay? Because this group right now, I know they got 2 wins, but you guys are not operating at your best. So if you're feeling confident after this, you might get a rude awakening.
Absolutely, especially with who's waiting for you in the second round. Now, we got a series split here out in Vegas, Minnesota, and I just want to say, we talked about the disrespect towards the Wild before the series. Look at those series odds. Look at the 3 shortest odds are all Vegas to win the series before you get to Minnesota and 6, Minnesota and 7, which makes sense that they would close in 6 and 7 on home ice before, instead of having to go into Vegas there. But even when you look at tonight and you look at the game, the odds for tonight, Minnesota is going home. And they are still, I'm not going to say a heavy underdog at home, but it's starting to border on heavy underdog there, isn't it? Plus 142, Golden Knights minus 158. They get home change tonight. They can find a way to get Kaprizov out there away from Vegas's top matchups. I'm not to say the series is going to go 7, but I don't understand why, Minnesota, especially after the way they played in game 2 and the way they came out, is being handicapped in this fashion.
Yeah, it can't go 7 because Minnesota will take care of business in 6. This is I get that Vegas has won a Stanley Cup, man. But are we just gonna pretend that Kirill Kaprizov died? Like, I was thinking about this as well in the shower. I was like, Gene would have won our fantasy hockey pool if he had a healthy Kirill Kaprizov. Because Kirill showed up and just dominated. Everything was off his stick. Joel Eriksson Ek is back. He looks good. Matt Boldy, by the way, leads the playoffs in goals. So I know it's early, but still, he's got 3. And Vegas is a much better team on home ice. And they're coming into Minnesota now with a split. It's not great. It's not great. And in that second game, man, I mean, Shea Theodore got eaten alive. He did not look good. And neither did Adin Hill. Adin Hill has to be a lot better because this Minnesota team, I think for the longest time, they dealt with key injuries. So the team that finished as a wild card team is probably not a wild card team. I think if they were healthy, they probably would have challenged somebody in the Central for one of those gauntlet spots. I'd have to play Dallas or Colorado or something. Like it wasn't ideal. But now Vegas goes on the road here. They are being 158. I mean, favorites is certainly a choice. That is a choice here. The total also being at 5.5 is a choice as well. So I obviously would take the Minnesota Wild at home. I know that their home numbers haven't been as great, but again, they are less bad at home than Vegas is on the road. Vegas is not good on the road. So I think this game might be a little bit tighter to start. I think Vegas is going to want to try to, they got to slow things down a little bit here. They got to make sure that they contain because there are chances for them. You can run Minnesota's defense into the ground. You got to work them though, because this isn't the most elite defensive group that we've seen here. And the skill is definitely, I would say Vegas has more overall skill. I think Minnesota has the better player, right? Like I think Kirill Kaprizov is dynamic, and there's nobody on that Vegas side, not even Jack Eichel, who can compete with that. So I am going with Minnesota here, and they have demonstrated exactly what I thought they would do, which is come in, be a really good road team, set the pace, get the puck to the net. Here we are. I'm also really happy that this is I know it's a 9 p.m. starts, 8 Central, which is fine, but these 11-15 games, man.
I think that was a one-time thing, and that's not happening the rest of the way.
I was reading over on Twitter, and the people are like, oh, yeah, the ratings are down. And you're like, really? You're telling me nobody's staying up till 11-15 on the East Coast to watch to watch a Central team? Yeah, I think I understand why. I get it.
Well, the other thing too, and I get it. They have to do the pregame. They have to get this extra, but like an 11 o'clock start, like you said, really means 11:20. That's the problem. That's 20 minutes. That's half of a period of real time action. There's a period usually about 40 or so minutes in real time, so it makes a difference too. So yeah, I mean, they was one and only thing. I don't think they'll have to do that the rest of the way. Yeah, it's probably not a big deal if you're in Vegas, like 8 o'clock at Vegas, like your night's barely beginning at 8 o'clock in Vegas, but yeah. I think that was a one-time thing. But back to the ice here. Yeah, I think if Minnesota somehow has a 3-2 series lead going back to 6, they're going to clinch it at home. So, I mean, Minnesota in 6 at plus 550 might not be a bad way to go right now. I do think they get the win tonight, and then we'll see how Vegas responds. But, yeah, I mean, like you said, Kaprizov, like the other night, they had a 2-on-1 with Kaprizov and Boldy. Like, oh, boy. Like
that Kaprizov sauce pass was ridiculous. It was, I wish it didn't even flutter. He touched it. That thing rocketed like a crepe and then landed on Boldy's stick. There was no bounce. It was soft as butter. Like just the level of eliteness there.
All right, you got to stop. You're saying crepes, you're saying butter. Like, we're going to cut this thing off early, and I'm going to go eat some breakfast food.
Listen, I saw that. I was like, there's no way. Vegas ain't slowing him down now. No way. Ain't no way.
You're one syrupy, smooth comment away from this just being over and me going downstairs and firing up the griddle. So there we go. We're both on Minnesota tonight. And like we said, the disrespect for the Wild in this series is just, again, maybe it's a case of, sometimes they say, like, money will be heavy on certain teams like the Yankees and the Cowboys, and that can throw lines off a little bit. Maybe because they're trying to handicap their home team that they love so much. No, maybe
Detroit might be hockey town, but Minnesota is hockey state.
Yeah, I mean, the way people talk about high school football in Texas, that is how high school hockey is in Minnesota. What are you doing on Friday night? You're going to the hockey game. You're not going to Friday Night Lights. There'll be lights reflecting off the ice, but it's not going to be those big spotlights outside. The other game that's going tonight here, talk about a hard luck series here for the St. Louis Blues. They've played well. They haven't played bad against Winnipeg, but they've just run into a team that is much better than them, has gotten the key goals when they've needed it there. You see Winnipeg takes game 1, 5-3, and then to game 2, 2-1. Tonight, 9:30 puck drop, so that's going to be the nightcap there. And then Sunday will be game 4. If Winnipeg wins, that's sweep potential for a Sunday afternoon. Looking at the series odds on the right, no shock there. Winnipeg minus 1,100. You're looking for a series exact score. Shortest odds are on Winnipeg and 5, just barely over Winnipeg and 4, plus 200, plus 205, respectively. And I mean, I don't think this is a sweep. I think St. Louis is going to get one of these here. But I don't see them coming back to win the series. If they had a chance at winning the series, they had to leave Winnipeg with the split. They had a chance in both games and just couldn't get it home. The series is over. It's just, is it 5 or 6 games to you? Or are you going to say sweep? I'm not going to say sweep.
It's probably 5. You had a chance in game 1. You caught Connor Hellebuck on an off night, which apparently happens in the playoffs. And I was worried, right? I was like, this is not a good start for Connor. Like we can't be in the same conversation as Carey Price being the GOAT and then have that kind of start. But he came back, riled in, got everything going, and he backstopped his team. And I still think there's another level to Connor Hellebuck's game here. He can give them a little bit more as to where they need to get. The Jets have been really good, specifically Mark Scheifele. Like he has looked extremely good. That whole top line is kind of, rolling and functioning. And again, it's not even like St. Louis has been bad. They just they're just there.
Playing a better team. They are the number, in a traditional playoff format, they're the 8 seed playing the 1 seed, and they're actually
the 8
seed
seed,
fight,
and they deserve to be the 8 seed. And that's, they had a run at the end, and that's great. That's all unicorns and butterflies, but they ran into one, hottest team in the NHL. So I don't know. I don't see St. Louis making this interesting.
I think if they're gonna, I think they can maybe make a stand tonight, ride that momentum of almost getting there in Winnipeg and maybe getting a win here. I think this is a 5 game or 2. There's a few of these series in the first round that I think are going to be 5 gamers. This is one of them here. I do think Winnipeg on the money line, it was basically plus 101 last time I looked. The Blues on the money line plus 101. I'm okay with that tonight. I do think they've played well enough where they make a stand, maybe win at a 2-1 victory the other way. I don't think you're going to get 5 past Hellebuck at any other point in the series. Unders is definitely the way to go if you're trying to lean a total. We do have Barman San Diego in the chat. Where in the world are you? Where's Rockapella singing the intro? You got to let us know. Who do you got in the Florida Tampa game tonight? Go back a little bit to get our full thoughts on that, but I do think Tampa's going to be in a nice bounce back spot here. They know they got to win. Again, you can't go back to Florida against the defending champs 0-2, or you're going to be in a real hole. I like it so much. I'd even take the regulation victory for Tampa plus 120. Way I'm going for that game tonight, and that's the one in pocket for me already. Let's go to another series here. Let's go. We talked about all the series playing tonight, and there's 3 series going tomorrow. Here's the one that's got a little bit of a break until Saturday here. It's going to be the nightcap at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. Back-to-back overtime games here after Colorado makes a statement in game 1. But yet Dallas has the lead here 2-1, winning 2 straight overtime games. Like I said earlier in the show, Jake Ottinger is back. Whatever was ailing him towards the end of the season where he wasn't playing well seems to be behind him. And this series, outside of game 1 has absolutely lived up to all the hype. As being arguably the best series of the first round, and see what Florida Tampa does. But so far, Colorado Dallas delivering. General thoughts on the series so far, Chris?
Fantastic. I love watching this series. The return of Gabriel Landeskog was everything as well. That was a good game. A little bit disappointed in Colorado in game 3. Just like, you're at home. I don't know. be better. But they, like, Colorado got off to that wicked start in game one. They were just pounding away at Dallas. Dallas with no Miro Heiskanen, right? Obviously, Jason Robertson hasn't even made the trip, so he's not playing in game four. I don't think he plays in this series. Heiskanen is hanging around. I don't know if he just wants to travel, if there's actually a shot that he plays, but so far, so good. Everything is, I now think this series probably goes 7. At first, I was like, this might be shorter than we thought it would be. But Dallas has, being the good team that they are, they've right the ship a little bit here. Everybody settle in. We got good players. We got a good goalie. And again, take nothing away from Mackenzie Blackwood. He's played well. But it's, if your team only scores 1, it's kind of hard to win games. So I think there's another step here that the Colorado Avalanche can take. I think having Landeskog back now in a spot where he needs to be, I think maybe Colorado's power play unit needs to, get somebody there kind of rolling a little bit. But so far, great series. It was everything we thought it would be. And I feel like as it keeps going, we're going to get more and more. Like, this was just the entree, right? This was just the appetizer. Now, like, games 4, 5, I feel like it's going to be the main course. And then the dessert will be whatever game 7 is.
We talk about Ovechkin and how, he breaks a leg around Thanksgiving, comes back 5 weeks later, goes on an unbelievable tear and gets the goal scoring record. I want to throw a shout out to Tyler Seguin, who had hip surgery back on December 5th of 2024 and has got a goal in 2 straight games. And usually with hip surgery and a guy in his mid-30s, and in case you haven't figured out the human body yet, skating in the hips, very important. It doesn't look like a guy in his mid-30s that had hip surgery 5 months ago. I mean, and that's a huge, you talk about Jason Robertson being out, like, that timed out very well. Like, okay, you're losing one of your top scorers. Seguin, certainly doing his best to fill that void. That goes back to the Dallas depth we've talked about in this year, up front. And that, Colorado definitely addressed that. But Dallas always had it, especially when they addressed their moves early in the season, bringing Granlund, bringing in Ceci. Like you said, Heiskanen's just hanging around. When he gets him back, is that going to be something that really swings things the other way?
I think having Miro Heiskanen in your lineup, it's just Colorado's defense has a hole after Thomas Harley. That's like, man, you probably need a top pairing. The same way Colorado has Makar and Taves. You don't have to play Harley and Miro Heiskanen together, but if you decide you want to go down that route at some point, that's a pretty good pairing. That's a lot of elite on a blue line for a team to have. And yes, the addition of Tyler Seguin kind of falls into the right time. He's not the player he once was, but he can fill one of those bottom 6 roles. He can be a good third line player. The same thing with Jamie Benn. These guys don't have to lead the charge anymore. That's not the role that they need to play. There are players that are there who can do that for them. They just have to be good. They have to give their team quality minutes. Whatever you get, make them quality. And, Tyler Seguin has done exactly that.
Listen, I think Seguin, I mean, until Robertson comes back, he's fine on that second line. And then if he bumps back down to that third line with Wyatt Johnson and Jamie Benn,
yeah, that's a big boy line there.
And like you said, if you have to go Heiskanen and Harley and play them 30 minutes a night, because that's sometimes what you got to do in the playoffs, you're in okay shape there. I love that all Finn line of Hintz, Granlund, and Rantanen. That is, if they had that line together in 4 Nations, maybe they would have done a little better. But there we go. That series resumes on Saturday. We got a few games tomorrow, and here's the one that I know we've all been waiting for with our resident Canadiens fan here. Tough 2 games. I mean, listen, you've played well. It's you've run into the 1 seed. Just like I think to a bigger extent than St. Louis having played well, but just having been able to get by a top team. Same thing here with the Montreal Canadiens and the Capitals there. If you're looking at series exact scores here, the shortest odds is a sweep. I think that's slightly disrespectful. I think Montreal will at least get 1. Next shortest is plus 195. So those are about the same there. Washington in 6 plus 450. Washington in 7 plus 800. Chris, can you make an argument for Montreal to win 4 in a row here, or maybe steal it in 7? Or is this going to be one of those series where it's like, hey, we're going to take a lot from this series for next year's playoff run? You took a top team in the East to overtime in game 1 on the road, see how the next few games go, but
it's still a learning experience no matter what. But I don't think the team feels like that. Like, I don't think they want to say, hey, we're just here to participate, right? They're not looking for participation trophies. They want to generate something. I will say this: Montreal's got them right exactly where they want them, right? That's the Montreal Canadiens. They look comatose for 40 minutes, and then all of a sudden, the third period shows up, and here they come, right? Montreal had 35 shots on goal in game one. Okay, I get they went to overtime. Montreal had 0 shots in overtime, so that means they had 35 shots in regulation, and most of them came in the third period. And that push yesterday was there. Listen. The difference between game one and game two was just that Logan Thompson was a lot better in game two when he needed to be. That was evidently it. In game one, a couple of those goals, he was swimming around. He looked like a fish out of water. He was where he shouldn't have been. And then, listen, for all the things that Alexander Ovechkin has done, scoring his first overtime winner in the playoffs is not what I had on my bingo card. But again, a bad icing, right? Which should not have been. We're not going to talk about referees, but bad icing goes the other way. Alex Newhook has been miserable. Homie looks like I do in my beer league. I mean, he can't finish. No finish whatsoever in that stick. Super speedy, but at this point, he's probably better suited as a winger. He can't win faceoffs. Montreal Canadiens basically trotting out Jake Evans, Christian Dvorak, Nick Suzuki to take every single important faceoff that they need to. Patrick Laine obviously was benched last game, right? We understand why, right? Like I had some dude on Twitter try to tell me that Laine wasn't the problem in that game. And then, I mean, I just I whipped out my hammer and I was like, buddy, like numbers don't lie. And I get that some people are like, well, you need him or maybe you sit him or like, listen, you're not sitting Patrick Laine. You're not a better team without him. You got to get it. He's got to play better. You got to get him to buy in. I know he didn't care about playing Alexander Ovechkin, but maybe, I don't know, take a couple of pointers, right? Confidence is down bad right now. We get it. Lock in, all right? Settle in, come back home, maybe move him off a different power play. I don't care what you got to do. Find a way to make it work because you can't be sitting him for anybody else. So that has to work. But again, you're never in trouble until you lose a game at home. You're not in trouble. The Montreal Canadiens went out and at least they know they can compete because you took Washington to that overtime and you came a couple of bounces away from winning in game two. It was right there. And once we get past all the cross checks to the chin that the NHL has allowed, right? Once we understand that this is just the hockey that's, this is a brand of hockey we play in now. Once we get through all of that, right? We know the Montreal Canadiens are a better team on home ice. This series is building for them. We've been here, we've done that. They got dominated a little bit in game one there because Ovi and the gang were just throwing their body around. They were hitting Montreal, and that's not their game. The Montreal Canadiens are not there to be big. They're not there to be physical. That's not what they are. They're not built like that. That's not their game. They have things that they have to work on. Yes, but I do not like. I just a plus 190 in 4, 195 in 5 for Washington. Listen. That's disrespectful.
More than Vegas with Minnesota?
Minnesota's a better team. I will give you we're not going to compare the Montreal Canadiens and Minnesota Wild because Minnesota is one of the best players in the world right now. But I think the Montreal Canadiens are they have to start earlier. You don't have to wait for the third period to be down. I didn't have much hope for them in game one when they were down 2-0. I was like, man, this is a task. And then that third period came on and it started to go. And even yesterday, you saw them in the third period. All of a sudden, the Jets turn on. I don't know if the Capitals just decide they're going to protect the lead, but it's not working. It's not. There are too many good chances. And if Montreal had a little bit of finish, just a little bit, a guy who could put the puck in the net, then we'd be fine. I want to see guys like Ivan Demidov play a little bit more. Again, he's a kid. I get all these things, but at some point, you got to take a little bit of risks here. Guys got to understand sometimes they're going to be playing out of their position, playing out of their matchups. You just got to dig in and be the better player. You got to go out there. You got to win your puck battles. You have to want it more. Even if you're smaller, you got to want it more. And for the guys who are 6'2", 6'3", there's no excuses for guys like Uri Slafkovsky to be losing puck battles in the corner. Same thing with Josh Anderson. And there's no reason. You come out with a puck 9 out of 10 times. Figure it out. I don't care how you do it. I'm not asking Cole Caulfield to go in there and win a battle, but make it hard. Make it hard. Keep the course. The Montreal Canadiens have to keep course. It's not pretty, but we're not cooked. All right, we're not cooked.
And if there's any team that's going to get a jolt out of going home after dropping the first two, it's going back to Montreal. Place is going to be buzzing. It's going to be a fun one to watch on TV. 4:00 Eastern. I know we're on. 4:00 Pacific. I know where I'll be tuned in. Yeah, I don't think it's crazy to say Montreal gets both games at home. I don't think it's crazy.
No. You just got to win. You just got to win at home. I'll be at Fan Fest tomorrow. We'll be hanging out, assuming the weather is nice, right? So I get to hang out there. I'm hoping the Capitals had a terrible, terrible stay wherever they're staying. If they're staying at the Marriott, I hope somebody pulls the fire alarm. Allegedly, I hope they don't go to Palma tonight and have a good meal. You know what I mean? Like, listen, it is what it is, and same thing. This is Logan Thompson was the difference. He made those saves. We're not even going to take anything away from Sam Montembeault. He's been great. He's been good. He allows the Montreal Canadiens to get to the third period to do the thing that they do. But we can also not wait till the third period. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no reason for us to be that second period yesterday was tough. That was tough to watch. You could see Washington just running around, doing what they wanted to do. I was like, man, they need this period to end. Period ends. All of a sudden, third period starts off. And then I leaned forward. I was like, okay, it's coming. Fortunately, it didn't.
Okay. Nonetheless, I think we at least get to a 2-1, and then we'll see how game 4 goes. But I do like Montreal tomorrow night. Thoughts on Toronto? Talked about, Fresh Donnie Cakes TTV. Thank you for tuning in. Talked about them earlier, but hey, we go back to them for a second here. My thoughts, on Toronto are that I think we're looking more like a 5 or 6 game series. Toronto, no problem here. I like the under tonight. I like Toronto tonight to go up 3-0, and then Ottawa maybe gets a desperation win or two. Chris thinks that Toronto's been lucky those first couple of games so far. But, still, Toronto's still probably the better team there. Stolar's also a guy that has the look of that playoff goaltender that's getting hot at the right time. And, maybe Toronto hasn't played their best, but he's doing what he needs to do to bail them out and keep them in victory lane, we'll say.
Stolarz has a Stanley Cup ring on his finger. And there's not a lot of Toronto Maple Leaf players that have a Stanley Cup ring on their finger and understand. I mean, most of that group doesn't even know what it's like to get out of the first round, let alone the second round. We have not seen that. That is like the Loch Ness Monster. We have never heard of the second round, like passing that. I don't think we've played hockey at like the end of May in Toronto. So, look, it is what it is here for the Leafs, but we got some work to do still. Lock in is what I'm saying. Lock in.
We've got some work to do. We got 2 more series we got to get to before some quick Conn Smythe odds, and we say farewell. Appreciate some new voices and new faces here in the chat today. We always love some new friends here on Total Hockey Now. Our third line mate that's not here today, at Ant Rivera 86, but he will be in attendance at the Prudential Center tomorrow night. Hopefully rooting on his Devils to victory against the Carolina Hurricanes. I think toothless would be the best way to describe the Devils offense right now. I mean, Markstrom, I think, is playing as well as he can to try and keep the Devils alive in this series. But and Nico Hischier is a great player, but they have no offensive depth at this point. And Carolina is already a tough team to try and generate offense against. And if New Jersey doesn't win tomorrow night, I think they win tomorrow night and it goes 5. But if they don't win tomorrow night, Carolina is going to sweep them. Carolina is going to take care of business early and hope that Montreal can just push Washington and wear them out a little bit here. But Carolina hasn't really looked weak at all to me at any point in the series.
No, Carolina is pretty good and one of the best penalty kills in the league. They held the Devils to only 2 goals. Poor Timo Meier, man, that puck just bounced over his stick. Could have been a different story. Could have, would have, should have, didn't. Devils just look like they're missing. They're missing a player who can put the puck in the net, which is saying something because they have guys who can do that. But this Carolina team, from top to bottom, seems real compete. Their defense is so good. Freddie Anderson is giving them some good goaltending too. You know Freddie Anderson's going to be fine as long as he is healthy and not falling apart and not every ligament, snapping. He's going to be good. Now, yes, they got to go into Jersey. It's not even like the matchup will change either, because like you're still going to play Heischer against probably Aho, so you're going to have that stalemate everywhere else. But I don't know, man. Just I will say this though, series has been a little bit better than I thought it would be, because I watched some of it and I was like I was anticipating like watching the Islanders and the Sabres. Nobody wants that, so this series has been a lot better than that.
It's good, tight hockey. But I mean, now Luke Hughes is day to day, Brendan Dillon's day to day. By the way, Markstrom, I get that you want to take a hack at somebody on the other team, but really, when you're swinging a big old paddle like that, not even just a regular hockey stick, big old paddle like that, you might want to just look ahead and make sure you're getting the right guy, because when that happened in real time, like, did he just take his own guy out? Because I'm like, I couldn't see another way he went down, and then you see the replay, and it's like, oh, and he got him like right in the chest too.
Take
like,
a page out of Anthony Stolars's book. Don't swing your stick at him, because that you could hit somebody. Just absolutely cross-check the back of Riley Gregg, who I love in his interview afterwards. Like, I didn't know who it was. I'm like, no, absolutely not. And boy, do I have a beachfront property in Saskatchewan that has his name right on it, if that's the case. But he knew damn well who that was. But yes, Markstrom can't be out there just. Homie could have probably cut a tree down with 2 hacks. That was a serious nice hack there.
He looked like he was stepping in like the bat, like he was like on the on deck circle trying to loosen up a little bit, get those shoulders going.
Full swing there. He was looking for yard. He wanted all of it. He wasn't hitting for average there. He was hitting for something.
If he connected with that ball, that was at least a 400-footer out. No problem. For sure. Exit velocity over 100 miles an hour. All that nonsense. But yeah, I mean, maybe watch a little Billy Smith. Go watch tape on him if you want to watch how a goalie can give the business without, potentially injuring your own guys in the process. Yeah, it's been a tough series here for the Devils, and we all knew it was going to be tough going in. They haven't played bad, but they're just overmatched here. So hopefully Ant gets some nice hockey at the Prudential Center tomorrow night. Also at Mr. Jared Moore there, hopefully has something nice to watch. But yeah, this one is appearing closer to over than it is to the Devils, maybe finding some life here. One last one to talk about here. And this is one where, man, Edmonton, I mean, let's be real here. They've gotten blown out in both games. They had to dig deep to make that comeback happen in the first period. I was watching that live. I couldn't believe the way that game ended the way it did. I mean, my God, to rally like that, and all of a sudden, the worst, one of the best teams at home, you've rallied to push overtime. You've got the momentum. Maybe you steal game 1 in there, but nope. Can't finish the game. Can't do it. Nonetheless, looking at those series odds there, you see on the screen, LA minus 450, Edmonton plus 340. Shortest odds is, believe it or not, an LA sweep right now. There's no faith in the Edmonton Oilers, especially with just how strong the Kings are at home. Yes, the series is shifting back to Edmonton. And I don't think this is a sweep by any means. I'm sure Edmonton gets a game or 2 here, but I mean, I have no reason to think that I would waste any money on Edmonton in 6 or Edmonton in 7 here.
No, that doesn't seem like something that'll happen here. Listen, Edmonton has scored 7 goals. Okay, goals saved above expected has not been good for Darcy Kemper, and he was elite on home ice. Miraculously he has 2 wins here. Now LA almost blew it in the first game. Not gonna lie. It was close. I had the Kings money line straight up there. I mean, God bless Philip Deneau, man. Homie's been, part of so many great things here. He was making sure that I was collecting some cash. And then I doubled down. I was like, well, the Kings are obviously going to win by more than 1 goal against Edmonton, because if you watch Stuart Skinner in that game, there was no way you thought he was going to be any better in the second game. And he was not. He was miserable. Watching the Oilers play is painful. The delusion around Oilers Nation, this team was a favorite to win the Stanley Cup. They're not getting out of the first round. That's how horrible they are. And watching them play in real time, because I fell asleep watching this game, right? I was dozing off, and I was like, okay, let me see a little bit. I would bet it was 3-1 LA, and I was like, man, I hope I wake up and at least, get some gas money. And then I saw that it got even worse. But it doesn't really matter who starts in goal for Edmonton. Edmonton is piss poor defensively. watching Darnell Nurse play the position is just mind-boggling at how bad he can be for the amount of money that he's making. It's just absolutely wild. He was so bad. We don't just let guys like Quentin Byfield just walk in. Like at some point, decisions got to be made, right? Same thing with Evan Bouchard. We know we don't pay him for his defense, but homie, pretend that you know what's going on.
It's in the job title for him.
It's in there. And then they're like, John Klingberg is here. And I was like, John Klingberg, it literally probably has, like, he probably needs a cane to stand up at some time. Like he had a good shot that, Draisaitl put in the back of the net, but McDavid and Draisaitl can only do so much. Everybody around them is not good. Also, I feel super bad for the other Skinner, Jeff, because he waited like a million years to be here, played one game, and then, hey, go take a seat here so we can let Evander Kane come in, who hasn't played hockey in what also feels like forever. But I mean, listen, Stuart Skinner has a minus 4.7 goals saved above expected. That is worse than Linus Ullmark. We knew that Edmonton needed a goalie, and they went, nah, fam, we good over here. We got our guy. And their guys collectively have given up 12 goals in 2 games. Yes, the series goes back to Edmonton. We know the Kings are not as good on the road. So maybe Edmonton picks up 2 here, which again would be fine. But if I got to pick one team that's going to win a game on the road, it's going to be the Kings. And I could not care less who starts in goal. Calvin Pickard is not your solution. If you think you're winning a Stanley Cup with Calvin Pickard in net, listen, I got a second beachfront property in Saskatchewan with your name on it.
I'm looking forward to seeing that property one day in Saskatchewan. Is it near Regina?
It's a whole, it's right outside of Saskatchewan, outside of Saskatoon, just an absolute beautiful beachfront there, right? It looks right on to whatever the ocean is there. It's just perfect. But yeah, there's a lot of delusion right now for Oiler fans. And to be fair, the rest of the world knew this. The rest of us understood how this goes. Now you're getting to the playoffs with a team that's got good goaltending. And listen, hindsight's 2020 here. Some people are like, oh, the Kings should have gone out and got Kemper and got out. Listen, I did not think Darcy Kemper was going to be good because he did win a Stanley Cup in Colorado, and he was not great. And then he went over to Washington and was worse. So, but Edmonton needs a goalie because all they're doing is wasting the prime years of not one, but 2 generational talent players. That's what they're doing here.
See, I'd like to say it's as simple as putting a good goaltender back there. And yes, like it is that simple, but like even a good goaltender behind that defense is going to Darcy Kemper has had a resurgence in LA, but look at the team and the style in front of him and the blue line in front of him. That makes a difference. That is part of the reason why Kemper had such an unbelievable season at home this year to go along with the rest of the Kings squad.
Kings are a good overall team down the middle. I mean, Kopitar is still doing stuff. Danault is good. You can play Byfield if you want down the middle. Homie's just stepping out top shelf. Kempe's already up to 7 points.
Kempe's having a monster postseason. Byfield has had a coming of age here in the last few months.
Yeah. So all these things are going right. And Edmonton's got Stu Skinner there. And again, it's probably not all his fault. I get it. But he's not good. And Edmonton's defense is, that is a collection of 6 men that should not be playing together. It just feels like a waste because all of us saw it. Not a single one of us that looked at Edmonton's defense and went, yeah, that's elite. And if you did, get checked out, man. Ask your doctor.
Now, I have to apologize because after last year's Stanley Cup final, the way Skinner played, I'm like, all right, I think Edmonton maybe doesn't have like an elite goalie, but they have somebody that's good enough to just try and be average behind them. I was spot wrong on that. I was right about Kemper going to LA and having a resurgence, but I was way off on Skinner. Maybe actually being a guy who can play 3 out of 4 games, but no, that's not the case. Drew Doughty also should not go overlooked here because don't forget, he didn't start playing until January. So 3 months, you're getting Drew Doughty in January form right now. You're not getting an old guy that's towards the end of the season. He's in midseason form. I mean, the Kings just, man, I don't want to see them in the playoffs. And if it's them in Vegas in the next round, I'm picking the Kings. If it's them in Minnesota in the next round, I'm picking the Kings.
I'm taking the over tonight, by the way. It's the mortgage on the over. Like, if anybody's confused, if you think Calvin Pickard's having a resurgence tonight, boy, man, I got another property for you. But I mean, it's the over for me here. Edmonton's going to score goals, man. It's going to come at some point. I have to imagine Noblov's going to split McDavid and Draisaitl up and try to get a decent matchup for either one of those two, and then just load them up on the power play and be like, hey, just run wild at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I like over here because normally when you're in a situation like this, and the Kings are not necessarily a team that is a high-scoring team, but when they put up 6 goals twice, it's like, all right, we really got to focus on buckling down, making sure we clean house on our. But they don't have the personnel to do that. Like on their own blue line, at least they don't have their own the personnel to do that. So
if I'm the Kings, it's the opposite. Go out there and strangle them.
Yeah,
buddy, everything to the net. Put the puck on whatever soul is standing in the blue paint tonight. It doesn't matter who it is. Pound the net. Pound it. Because
when you don't puck in for a change, when you get across the red line, throw it at the net. I mean, that's the way the Oilers goaltending has gone at this point. Just throw it right at the net. Try and catch a guy off guard.
50-50 chance at this point. Just make it tough for those. Whoever is starting is not feeling good about himself, right? I do believe maybe Calvin Pickard gets started here through, again, whatever it is. But, I mean, he's not the solution, obviously. So just pound away at him. He knows why he's there. His stress level is going to be up, and he's going to peek his head up every once in a while. He's going to see Darnell Nurse and Evan Bouchard standing around, just playing just absolute terrible defensive hockey. I don't know where Darnell Nurse was going. You got a bunch of players in your zone, in your corner, and he's like, hey, man, I'm thinking about leaving the zone. Like, where are you off to, Darnell? Where are we going? Just, like, get back in your zone, homie.
Evan Bouchard can leave the zone. Jake Wallman can leave the zone. Got it. Yeah. And I will say this, and this is, for the Simpsons fans out there, if Knobloch has not yelled at Jeff Skinner in a similar fashion as Superintendent Chalmers to Principal Skinner, yelling at like, Skinner, he has not pulled him off the ice at least once that way yet, he has failed. They may go out in the first round. That will be the biggest failure of the Kings-Oilers postseason, trying to find the silver lining in that otherwise dark gray cloud that is the LA Kings that's hovering over northern Alberta right now. So we got one more thing we want to talk about here. We did say we were going to do way too early Conn Smythe odds. And why not? Why shouldn't we? Let's take a look at them right there. And you see them all up on the big board. No surprise. Connor Hellebuck, the current odds-on favorite, 12-1. And then they go down the left side and then the right side. Sebastian Aho, Jack Eichel, Nate McKinnon, Ovechkin, Kachuk, all the, Kempe, who we've talked about having a monster postseason. Kucherov at 28-1 after one game there. And then you see on the right side some of the longer shots. Connor McDavid to win the Conn Smythe, 45-1. That is how you know Edmonton is having a miserable playoffs. And you don't even see Leon Draisaitl on there right now.
How the mighty have fallen.
Yes.
How the mighty have fallen. It's just, what a time to be alive, man. What a time. I'm not crying for you, Oilers Nation. I'm literally not crying for you. You guys knew what the task was. You refused to do it. You didn't do your homework. You failed. I don't know. Like, get a guy with a clipboard and just look at your goalie. Get a subscription to Money Puck and just review the stats. I don't know. I could do it for them if they want.
It's goaltending and blue line issues, and we're having all this talk right now. And watch Edmonton goes and rattles off 4 in a row somehow. I don't see that happening. No. I think that coming into this, that was probably the series I was most confident with. But coming in, like, the Kings, they're gonna. Why are their underdogs coming into the series? Makes no sense, and we're seeing that right now. And there's no reason to think that Edmonton. Give me a reason that you think Edmonton can bounce back, other than besides the fact that they have McDavid and Draisaitl. And I understand that's a big deal, and they could go out and score 2 goals each game. But if you're giving up, 6, it don't matter. So,
and if you're asking McDavid and Draisaitl to play more in your own zone, now you're starting to restrict what they can do offensively, right? Like those, I get they can do a lot, but if you're trying to play them a ton of minutes, and I mean, at one point, McDavid was out there trying to kill a penalty, and then lo and behold, the Kings score. And my first thought was like, why is McDavid out here in the most, like, you have a ton of plugs on this team that could take up that role. Why are you sending your best player out there to try to block shots and do the rest? I get the offensive threat going the other way, but I'm not paying him to be elite in his own zone. I'm paying him to be elite in the offensive zone.
Now, you mentioned Andre Kopitar before. He's 45-1 to take a Conn Smythe there for the Kings. Darcy Kemper 40-1. And then you look on the left side, you see Kempe 25-1. Kings are probably a tough team to like pick who would be a Conn Smythe winner right now. Winnipeg, I mean, it makes sense that Hellebuck's 12-1. If they're going to win, it's going to be because of him for the most part. You want to take a shot at Kyle Connor at 28-1, but I think if Winnipeg goes all the way, it's pretty much Hellebuck's to lose. If you're going to go with Carolina, I'd almost rather go Freddie Anderson at 30-1 because he stays healthy for an entire playoff run and wins. That alone should get him a Conn Smythe, regardless of what the save percentage of the GAA is. If he is in net for all 16 victories, just give it to him. I don't care what he did.
That's a fair assessment. I'm trying to picture the finals, right? Because that's how you kind of get here when you're doing the way too early ones, trying to see which teams to get there. I think Mark Scheifele at 40-1 is some good money. I expect Winnipeg. I picked them to win the Stanley Cup. So if they get there, Connor Hellebuck maybe wins it, but Scheifele's been off to a great start, right? And in order to get to the finals, you have to win the first round and the second one. And Mark Scheifele so far has done exactly that. On the flip side here, Matthew Tkachuk at 22-1 kind of seems like some really good value there as well. If he stays healthy and does exactly what we think he's going to do, then I don't know. Like if they get there, again, sometimes people think that Barkov can take away some of those votes and Sam Reinhart, and that is more than fair. Sergei Bobrovsky, yes, there's lots of guys on there that can win it. But I think what Matthew Tkachuk brings to that team, none of those other players can replicate. They can't do what he does. He is the catalyst of that offense. It starts with him. There's just so many things that he can do that makes it good. Adrian Kempe, 25-1. Obviously, it's a good start. Again, it would have to be the Kings making it to the finals. I just don't see how they get past like Dallas or Colorado or, again, Winnipeg. So I don't think there's great value in taking a Kings game because they can't make it that far, right? Like they've done well here, but at one point they're going to run into a team that does have good goaltending, and then then it's going to be a different problem, right? We're not beating up on Stuart Skinner for the rest of the year, right? They're going to run into maybe a Connor Hellebuck at some point, or a Mackenzie Blackwood or a Jake Ottinger, and they're going to realize he's a lot better.
Now, here's the thing. I normally buy into you have, 5 Panthers up there. They're like, okay, Tkachuk won't get it because the play of the other guys will take votes away. Tkachuk is a face of the USA hockey at this point, for better or worse. He's one of them. If there is a household hockey name in the United States, the Tkachuk family is becoming it. He plays with a style that it just bodes well, and he produces, and he does. So yeah, I don't. Barkov is a fantastic hockey player, and if you're somebody who really appreciates hockey, you understand how important Barkov is. But just Tkachuk has the quote unquote sex appeal amongst like voting and just being a recognizable name. You're going to go Florida. Kel McCarr at 35-1. If you think Colorado is going to survive and get through, you only see one Dallas star up there out of all of those, which is Jake Ottinger. There's some value there, and that just speaks to how balanced they are. Pick. You can say it's, Hintz. You can say it's Rantanen. You can say it's Heiskanen if he comes back here soon. But, Ottinger's going to have to be the guy there. And then, I know you're going to laugh, Toronto going that far. But if they do, trying to get in on an Austin Matthews at 40-1 right now, not a bad way to go. Again, you got to try and figure out the teams you think that are going to go all the way, or at least get there. And then, because the odds are only going to get shorter as the games go on for a lot of these big names you're seeing here.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of value there as well in Anthony Stolarz, just considering what he's done to this point. If Toronto does actually make it to that point, he would probably a name that we don't see here. Where is Logan Thompson? I mean, it's good or bad with him. But when he's good, he's going to be a big reason why this Capitals team makes it to where they do. That's the guy, if you see him on the board here after the next game, again, maybe he's the guy because it's easy to say it's going to be Ovechkin, but there's no guarantee that Ovechkin is going to produce all the way through to the point of winning a con. Now, granted,
because he's Ovi, maybe he doesn't have to produce at as high a clip as maybe some other guys to get that recognition, especially if he said he's not retiring, but he may not win another cup if they go, if this year they get and they win again. So I can see a little sentimentality there, but otherwise, yeah, Logan Thompson is absolutely the guy to pick out of the Capitals because it's not, it's not going to be Chikrin. It's not going to be Tom Wilson. Dylan Strome is up there at 45-1. But if he's producing, it's probably because he's feeding Ovechkin the puck. So then again, it's going to go to Ovechkin.
Shout out to Tom Wilson, by the way. He looks ready for the 2026 Summer Olympics in the 10-meter dive. Homie there, just like Josh Anderson pushed him a little bit. All of a sudden, he's flopping over like a fish out of water. Stand up, Tom. What happened? You're throwing your weight around all of a sudden. You get one little tap and you're falling over there. Works. Really excited to see him. I would like him to do the synchronized dive with Tim Stützle, but unfortunately they're not from the same country. But that's what I would want to see at the Olympics in the diving contest. If I had to pick two players, those would be my two divers.
I think those are two fair competitions to win a diving competition. Two fair competitors, I should say. And hey, see how that goes. When they actually get around to it in 2026. So I believe that's what in Italy, 2026.
I think so.
Yeah.
Somewhere, wherever it is, I expect to see Tom Wilson.
So isn't the next Winter Olympics is 2026? Summer's 2028, I believe.
No.
Yeah, 2026 Winter Olympic Games are in Milan. And then 2028, I believe, is Los Angeles, which you cannot pay me to go to Southern California at that point. Yes, it's Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, excited to see Tom Wilson at the 2028 Olympics in the diving competition.
I have we're talking Panthers, and I have one of my cats here trying to get on camera as appropriate. I will say this: my daughter's birthday falls in the window of where the Olympics are. There will be no Disneyland trips to Anaheim for her 7th birthday. That is not happening.
Poor her.
9th birthday, if I could do math correctly.
What if you just go to the other one in Florida? What's the other Disney?
I'm going to go all the way to Disney World? No, I mean, I'll do that at some point, but definitely will be avoiding the LA area come Olympic time. I mean, I would love to go to a Winter Olympics. I'd love to see like Team USA hockey game. Summer Olympics just don't really do it for me. I know most people like summer better than a winter, but I'm a winter guy.
I'd much rather go to the winter ones.
Yeah, but we're hockey guys.
Yeah.
Now, one of the sports I used to be in the Olympics, baseball. Subway to Shea podcast. Check at Ant Rivera 86 work over there talking about the Mets. Apparently, the sky as of last week, the sky was already full. But no, the Mets are having a good season from what I understand. So I don't understand. I think the Mets are going to be okay. But then it is only April 24th. See how that goes. Slapshot podcast. What do you got?
Going to talk a little bit about the Montreal Canadiens, their first two games, like we did a little bit here. We're also going to talk about their lineup. There's been a lot of conversation about who should be in, who should be out, what we're putting together for Game 3. Don't worry. I'm going to settle all that for you, okay? Some reasonable, logical answers here, okay? Because I am a reasonable and logical human being about 46% of the time. So that's what you can expect.
I'd say a little bit of percentage.
That's about accurate. A little bit of puck doku as well. If we have time.
If there's time.
If there's time. I got an easy one last week, man. I mean, shout out to the puck doku gods for giving me that toss up, but we'll see if they bless me tomorrow.
A new episode of Rip and Riff came out earlier today. We did some NFL draft stuff, related to the draft tonight. Figure 5 was hockey, so that'll, won't spoil that one for you. Yeah, it was a good episode today. We don't talk NFL draft here. And listen, I understand the draft's a big event, but it's except for when the Jets are on the clock and maybe the couple of picks before. If you give me the choice between Stanley Cup Playoff hockey or an event that I can just check my phone periodically to see the player that was selected, it's a no-brainer.
There's lots of good playoff hockey. Turn the TV on. That's it.
4 games tonight.
I don't care about a kid getting drafted.
Jets, just I've had let me just talk to the New York Jets here for a second as we wrap this up. The Chris Drury extension was not the news I needed yesterday. You're in a very good spot here. You can take the tight end Tyler Warren if he's there. Nobody trades up to get him. You can take one of the best offensive tackles. Just do one of those two things to make it happen. That's it. One of those two things. Don't do something stupid. Just be smart. There's a new era. There's a new regime. Act like it. That's all I want. Try to be as good as the. I am not fucking Adam. Let's get out of here. We'll do it again next week. an all new episode of Total Hockey Now here, Total Hockey Now YouTube channel.